Hey guys, David here with a little bit of a surprise review. I mentioned in my Masterpiece Cheetor review, which you can actually go ahead and check out on my channel in case you have missed it. You will see an annotation either at the end of this video or you can just check out my channel. Just hit the link below and you guys will notice that I actually posted a review on the new Takara Tomy Masterpiece Beast Wars Cheetor. Really excited about that review, so please check it out. It's a little lengthy, but grab that popcorn and you'll be all set and good to go. In the meantime, however, if you want something that's a little bit shorter, here's my review for a movie that, in that review I mentioned I wasn't going to watch because of some scheduling conflicts, but thankfully those conflicts worked out in the end. Unprecedented, but it happened, and I managed to watch Beauty and the Beast. So here's my review, and I'm going to try to make it a little bit quick and sweet and short and to the point, because I know that some of you guys probably don't give a flying shit about Beauty and the Beast. Out of all the big movies that are coming out in March, this is probably the one that you care about the least, because all the other ones are very rooted on the nerd culture, like Logan, Kong Skull Island, even Ghost in the Shell, Power Rangers. But Beauty and the Beast does hold a very special place in certain people's hearts that grew up with that movie. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people, because I'm gonna put it on the record right now. Beauty and the Beast, the original 1990 or 1991 animated film, which is I think the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards that year, kind of slipped through the cracks for me. I don't know what it was, but I just didn't watch it. I didn't grow up with that movie. It didn't get cemented into my childhood like it did with other people. For me, it was Toy Story, a little bit of The Little Mermaid, a little bit of Aladdin, and then some of, ironically, some older films from the 1960s and 70s like Jungle Book and Robin Hood. So when Jungle Book came out, I needed to check out that remake. And should there be a remake of Robin Hood, which is almost in the works right now, even though if it wasn't for some of the more popular movies like Mulan or whatever, I'm pretty sure Disney would be thinking of a Robin Hood movie. But in the meantime, we got Beauty and the Beast. So here you have a little bit of an unbiased opinion on the film, because I'm not so attached to that original movie. And with that being said, I still think that this movie could have used some polish, because after watching this movie, I'm a little nervous that Disney is trying a little too hard to pump these movies out so quickly, because they found somewhat of a treasure trove, seeing with the financial success of movies like the Cinderella movie that came out a couple years back, also in March, but it was Jungle Book, where they're like, oh my god, I think we got something going on right here. But I'm a little nervous now, because maybe they're working these films a little too quickly. Like, after watching this movie, there were certain aspects about the film that just felt a little rushed to me, which doesn't make sense, because you got so many elements that could have worked for this film. You got the director, Bill Condon, who's not necessarily unfamiliar with musical films. He did Dreamgirls with Beyonce, Jennifer Hudson, Eddie Murphy. That's not an issue, because you have a director there that has a history with these kinds of films, so it would have made sense for him to helm a project like Beauty and the Beast. Then you got some extraordinary talent behind the cast: Emma Watson, Dan Stevens, Josh Gad, Lucas Evans. But there are some casting choices in there that didn't quite work. And with a movie like Beauty and the Beast, where the characters are so important to be bringing you this story that's as old as time, as the song tells, you need to get the characters and the people portraying those characters on screen right. And sadly, I don't think they nailed the mark just there with this casting in this movie, because even though performance-wise they were all good, there was something missing. There was something magical in the chemistry and the relation with each other that was just missing. I don't know what it is, but I never found the Beast and Belle to find love. I felt like they liked each other very much, but I never found that true love that I was rooting for the two of them to get together by the end of the movie. And again, I don't have anything to kind of go back to as reference, because it didn't grow up with that original movie. Here I'm judging it as a movie, and I never felt that journey that these two characters took, because the premise behind the movie is that Belle is trapped in the tower with a beast who was cursed when he was back a prince, and it was through this curse that he learned to become a bitter and vile creature or character, and it's up to Belle to kind of bring that out of him, hence Beauty and the Beast. Same thing with Luke Evans as Gaston. He wasn't bringing it. He just wasn't. And it's funny, because from the trailers, I had this inkling that maybe he wasn't going to work, but it was just the trailers. I was willing to give it a chance. I understood, without having seen the original film, I understood what type of character and personality Gaston was. Where even though he was self-centered, he didn't see anything else worthy of meeting the prowess that he was except himself. He still had some kind of comedic undertone with that type of personality, because he was just so oblivious to everything else that it's fun to watch this character. Even though he's the main antagonist, and by the end of the movie you're rooting against him, he still had this level of magnitude to him. Luke Evans was just Luke Evans, like he's always been in almost every single movie that he's ever been in. And there's moments where it feels like he's trying his best, similar to almost everybody else in the cast. They're trying their best, and nobody's bad, nobody's terrible. It's just that nobody fit 100%. And the same could be said about some of the musical numbers, because that's one of the things that people loved about the originals, those iconic songs. And those songs are imported over to this live-action remake thanks to Alan Menken, who comes back to do the songs and to kind of arrange them and hold them all together, as well as his score. And it's still timeless, it's still iconic, you still make those connections to Beauty and the Beast. But much like the film, there's something kind of missing from most, not all, but some of these musical numbers, especially the ones that involve our human characters. There's something about the way they're in the film and how these human people are kind of singing that just doesn't feel like the power, like the touch is there. Especially with some of these... I hate coming back to this movie for reference, because I know that I've put this out there. I love this movie, so I don't want to reference too much with it, because then that's going to grow some people to be like, oh my god, you got this bias against this movie because you got this bias with this other film. But La La Land did a good job at bringing those musical numbers to life, because there was something very kinetic with the camera movement. It felt almost as energetic as the people were on screen delivering those musical numbers. Here, the camera is very stilted in certain segments, and it didn't really make sense because Bill Condon is directing this, so I was expecting it to be very energetic. But whenever we had these people doing these musical cues, the camera was just placed and it was rather dull. You need to bring that energy forward so that we can be invested into these musical numbers. I will give Josh Gad as LeFou props, because out of all the human characters, he was the one I liked the most. He was funny, he was able to hit the timing just right with some of those jokes, as well as those musical cues. Whereas everybody else just didn't feel quite right. Josh Gad was the one where I'm like, okay, I clearly don't have to worry about it whatsoever, because whatever musical piece or segment that you're in, or even when you're in the film in general, you're able to bring it, and I like them. And for those people who are wondering about the whole shablam of him being gay in this movie, I mean, come on. Just take a look at the original LeFou from the animated movie. Like, if that didn't already scream gay originally, then I don't know what the big fuss is this time. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I keep referring to these characters as the humans. Like, these humans weren't bringing it for me when it came to the music and the energy and all that stuff that I'm guessing people would have gotten from that original animated flick. That's because when Belle finally reaches the castle and we get to the inanimate objects coming to life, so does the movie. At least for me, the movie then came alive, because these band of characters, I was not expecting to love them as much as I did, because I genuinely loved them in this movie. They're very charismatic, they brought that energy, and they even were able to inject that energy into the musical numbers, whereas the other ones were kind of with the humans. Any musical segment that had to do with these inanimate objects, because they're CG, they're able to move around the camera and just get it in places that it wasn't practical to do in live action. So when you get to that, it feels like an actual powerhouse of a performance, especially when we get to Be Our Guest. Out of all the musical segments and all the numbers, it was Be My Guest that was the one that I was just enthralled by. The visuals, by what they were doing, the choreography. I was like, yes, this is it. This is what would actually tempt me into going back and watching that original classic. And the voice cast behind these characters were also top notch. Everybody was able to blend into the characters, even though when they first speak, you're like, okay, it's that actor, it's that person. You're like, they're recognizable. But as the movie went on, I started to really become invested not only in these people, but also on our main two romantic leads that are stuck in this castle, Beast and Belle. Even though at first I didn't find that chemistry, at least I didn't find that spark that made sense for this love to kind of grow out of nowhere, there was still likability. I still like these two people on screen, or at least one of these people on screen, because I will admit, as much as I was somewhat getting used to it, the effects on Beast, they're just not all that great, in my opinion. They're not terrible, but I never bought him as a Beast. In fact, no offense to Dan Stevens, but I think he was pulling some much more game in terms of his game as a beast than he was as a human. And honestly, I'll use that as my segue into my final thoughts, is that, again, to reiterate, I'm scared that they're rushing these films, because that CG effect on the beast, maybe if they had spent just a little bit more time, they could have re-rendered it so that we can understand where his anger is coming from, of him turning into this beast. And there's even a little backstory to his character that, again, I don't know if that was in the original. In fact, there's so many things in this movie that could have been changed from the original. In fact, there's one musical segment that I turned to my girlfriend. I was like, is that in the original? Because she loves that original. And even she said, yeah, that was different. That was completely fabricated for this version. And I don't know, outside of that, what specifics were changed. And even if some of them weren't changed, I can definitely look at them with an unbiased opinion and be like, that wouldn't have worked either way, whether it be in the animated version or in this live action version, to the point where we start to get into some Home Alone physics towards the end, where even I'm like, ugh, maybe this could work in the animated version, but not here in live action. But outside of that, I'm not going to say that the movie's terrible, but if maybe they can pace themselves with these movies, not only can they still bring forward that box office success, but you can also win over the critics. Well, not necessarily the critics, but at least the people who want to see these movies succeed, because I really, really liked Jungle Book. And I really, out of all these live action remakes that they're doing, Mulan is the one that I'm actually kind of hyped for, because I really, really do like that original film. But now, after seeing Beauty and the Beast, please, I suggest you guys take your time, because certain elements in this movie felt rushed. The casting might have felt a little rushed. Maybe I've taken the time. They could have found somebody better for Gaston or somebody better for Belle, because, again, even though these people aren't terrible, I'm pretty sure there would have been some better selections out there, as well as their direction for some of the choreography or some of the musical numbers or the way that this movie was filmed. Maybe if they had much more time, they could have brought that energy that I was looking forward so much. I was going to give it like a 6 or 7 or something like that, but there is a scene towards the end, and I'll try my best not to admit this to my girlfriend, but there's a scene towards the end that was legitimately bringing me to tears. I don't know why, but there's a scene. And it's a very unexpected scene, because the one scene that was supposed to be the tearjerker, I was just like, okay. But then moments later, something starts to happen where I'm like, oh God, are they doing? Oh my God, no, what's happening? And because of that, I'll push it. I'll give it a slight push and give it a very solid 7 out of 10. A movie that I would have enjoyed just a bit more if I had maybe caught it on Redbox, or even on at a matinee price. So please let me know what you guys thought of Beauty and the Beast if you have watched it. If you have not, where you'll be going to see it this weekend. And I really don't know much more to say to kind of pick apart this movie, because I'm not going to be doing a spoiler discussion. You guys probably don't care that much about Beauty and the Beast, or maybe you do. If you do, please let me know in the comments. What are your guys' opinions on Disney's little renaissance here, bringing forward live-action remakes of their beloved classic animated films? Please let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Like and share this video, and of course, subscribe for future reviews coming very, very soon. Until next time, guys, make sure to keep up to date with all the things that happen in my brain on my Twitter and on my Instagram at DarkSpiderDavid. See you guys later. Take care. Au revoir. And other magical I don't know how else to say goodbye in that fairy tale Disney way. See ya. Peace, motherfuckers.